you want to think through the social media of your plan.
Yeah.
We don't want to just invest all of this money and effort and time and energy into a song and then get it and then be like, oh, now I have to start promoting it. That's part of your plan, to have pictures of the making of,
Yeah.
or video clips of the making of. If it's part of your plan to have your demo process,
Yeah.
and how that was put together, like, have all that.
Mm-hmm.
And so having this plan at the end, like, helps you on the process actually get the content that you need.
Around social media, how important it is to make content that you like making, not what you think other people are going to like to see, because that's going to make it sustainable for you.
Camo. What happens if you start going through the year and your goal doesn't pan out like you thought it was?
You freak out.
You freak out? Is that what you do?
But don't let the change be the reason you don't do any songs at all.
Yeah.
That would be ridiculous.
Camo! All right, jumping in for real. We're looking forward to the new year.
Yeah.
2025. We've been talking about some goals that we have, and it just got us thinking we should talk about setting goals in general, and how helpful it is when you have a plan.
Yeah.
When you can track that plan, when you can work towards that plan, just how good that is for any creator. I think this episode really is valuable if you're an artist in any sphere, not just music, but
yeah. We're both 3s on the Enneagram.
Yeah.
And so we're very motivated by achieving things.
Yes.
And so
to a fault.
Yes, to a fault. And so this is something we really enjoy talking about. So we're excited to get into it today.
Yeah. I think just to start us off, elephant in the room, most artists are not like us. And that's okay.
Yes.
Most artists don't enjoy goal planning, and they're usually dreamers, but the structure behind the dream usually isn't there. And that's not as exciting as a thing, which is okay.
Yeah.
I still think there's a lot of value to it. So we just want to acknowledge first off that not everyone in our audience is going to be like, goals, yay. Some people might be like, stick with us, because we think we can make it very valuable for your creation process.
And we also want to acknowledge that the reason that might be for some people is because they might have tried doing this at some point years ago, and like it just totally tanked because maybe they didn't have the right handles to like do this very well.
Yeah.
And so for that reason, they're like, I'm out on setting goals. It doesn't work for me. I'm not that kind of person that does that. But we think you are more than capable if you're given the right handles, and that it's something that you can definitely do. So.
Yeah. I feel like that's true in everything in life. Just
yeah.
There's always a lesson I'm learning is like expectations are so important.
Yeah.
If I have the wrong expectations and then they're not met, I'm like super upset.
Totally.
And so I think that's part of setting goals is you set these expectations. If you don't crush them, you're like, I'm a failure.
Right.
So just like, in marriage, if it's like, I expect my spouse to do this, or I expect my friendships to be like this. So
yeah, if there was no chance you would fail your goals, that would defeat the purpose of setting goals in the first place.
Oh yeah.
There's always potential for it.
Always potential. Yeah. But we'll get into that a little later.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first thing we thought about talking about when setting goals is have a realistic goal. I think so many people, if they are a dreamer, I'm a dreamer as well. Like I have so many ideas.
Yeah.
There's so many things I want to accomplish. But I can't be like, this next year I want to write 3 albums and co-write with these people and launch these projects and do these video projects and it's like all of these things. And then I have no like directed effort towards any of them. And then I'm definitely going to feel crushed by the weight of all of them. So I think setting very realistic goals that you can write on paper, you can plan out for the year, and you say, I think I can accomplish this. I even think breaking down your goals into quarters is very helpful. So for example, if you were like, my goal is to put out an EP of 4 songs, you could break that into quarters and try to figure out like, what do I need to have done by the first quarter to keep this goal on track? What do I have to have done by the second quarter? And then by the end, you should be able to get to the song. And if you have to work backwards, that's fine. Start with 4 songs and be like, okay, so I have to like release them. I got to get them like mixed, and then I got them like produced. I have to like be in the demo phase. I have to write them. And so then you can like kind of build your goal backwards that way.
Yeah. I love that.
It's easy.
I have nothing to add to that. That's really straightforward, honestly.
Yeah. So realistic goals, very, very, very helpful. It also feels good when you feel like you're on the right track. And I think when you break your goal down like that and you look at it over timeline and it's realistic, you will feel really encouraged by like quarter 2, You might not have all 4 songs yet, but you did the steps that you felt like you had to do by that point.
Yes. They're like little milestones.
Yeah, little milestones. And if you're slightly behind, okay, I need to slightly pick up the pace.
Mm-hmm.
If you're slightly ahead, you'd be like, okay, I don't have to stress as hard in this next quarter. If I want to keep ahead, I can. But if I want to spend a little bit more time on this phase, I have that flexibility as well.
Yeah. This might be a silly metaphor, but playing video games.
Yeah.
Like Sonic or Mario.
Yep.
And like knowing you've hit a checkpoint.
Yep.
And if you die,
yep,
you're going to go back to that checkpoint at the beginning of the game.
It's so good.
Yeah.
So good.
It's like a nice feeling.
Nothing worse than a game with no checkpoints. That's like very tedious.
Yes. Yeah. So you want to give yourself checkpoints to be able to go back to.
Yeah. Also think, even when we're talking about setting goals, like be realistic with the finances.
Yes.
Like usually if you care about something, it's going to cost you something. So just be reasonable with it.
Yeah.
If your goal is to put out 10 songs, understand that cost. Mm-hmm. Ask yourself, is that a cost I can cover?
Right.
Time is another resource that we don't think about in that way. Like, do you have time to accomplish these goals? There's a lot of things we want to do, but there's also a lot of other things that we have to do.
Yeah.
So just making sure that we have all those in our plan is so helpful.
Yeah. I think some principles with those things would be people often over budget when they don't consider it well. And some people would even like go into debt against like their better judgment.
Yeah.
And we would like almost never recommend that somebody goes into debt.
Never.
And similar with time, people over budget on their time. And that's how you get into poor relationship, habits of like overcommitting or committing to 2 things at the same time or whatever. And that doesn't help you at all either.
Yeah. So confession, I don't always set the most realistic goals. I need to get better at this. That's why we have an outline for our business for the year of what goals we want to see accomplished, and they're very reasonable, and we're all going to agree that we feel like we can accomplish this.
Yeah.
But I usually tend to have too many ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So this is very helpful for me. All right. So having a plan, we're going to start to put this plan into action. So again, going back to like what your goal is, say your goal is to put out 4 songs.
Yeah.
Then it's like, okay, how much is this going to cost? And can I save up for this, or can I pay for this throughout the year to make this happen? I think the financial part is like really easy to see on paper because usually we're used to writing down numbers and figuring out a budget, hopefully. So I think that part is like pretty good. But there's other parts of the plan.
Mm-hmm.
You want to think through the social media of your plan.
Yeah.
We don't want to just invest all of this money and effort and time and energy into a song and then get it and then be like, oh, now I have to start promoting it on social media. So I think having some kind of a good social media plan, like what platforms are you going to use? How often are you going to post? What's valuable to you as an artist? I think is really important.
Yeah. It's important to work on these things in tandem because more oftentimes than not, an artist will finish a song having no thoughts about what they're going to do next. And they're like, what now?
Yeah.
And so that even stunts the process. Cause let's say we finish a song at the end of January, and it's like, okay, now they've started planning for how to promote the song at the end of January. It's like, that's going to take you like another month or 2 at the least to do successfully. And so you could have been doing that while I, the producer, was like working on the song, or you were mixing the song, and it could have been done in tandem, and all of it could have been ready to go by the end of January.
Yeah.
So it's just important, like, be mindful of like what you're able to multitask and like do at the same time in tandem with one another.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like this succinct one thing at a time kind of thing.
But even if you have your plan, like that should impact when you're tracking. Make sure to get pictures. If that's part of your plan, to have pictures of the making of, or video clips of the making of. If it's part of your plan to have like your demo process, and how that was put together, like have all that. And so having this plan at the end like helps you on the process actually get the content that you need. Would you say you're good or bad at that as an artist?
I'm bad.
Yeah.
I don't like.
I wasn't going to call you out.
I know
you're really great at making music. I feel like you don't put the same effort behind your social media.
No, because that's just not. That's why I'm doing the producing thing.
Yeah.
Because I just don't like trying to dance like a monkey on social media.
Yeah. But we recognize it's really important.
It is really important. And even this is another podcast, but like we talked the other day about like around social media, how important it is to make content that you like making, not what you think other people are going to like to see, because that's going to make it sustainable for you. So that's just a little nugget there.
That takes work to figure out too.
It does. Experimenting.
Yeah, shout out to Kylie. She crushes social media.
Yeah, she enjoys it. And she doesn't always enjoy it. Like sometimes it feels like work for her, but she has found that sweet spot of like a good rhythm of like content that she seems to like making for the most part. So
yeah.
Yeah.
My friends at Isla Vista, they're always really good at that. They do a lot of content, but it's very simple, very sustainable. But it definitely fits into the larger plan of what they're doing. So
yeah, I think people need to know that social media, the success of a song does not go far without putting out content.
Yeah, some kind of content. Yeah.
Some kind of content. Not necessarily social media, but something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So consider that with your songs and your artistry.
Yep. Yep. It's a great thought. I think another part of planning that's really good to consider is who's the team you're going to be working with. I think we think about this because we like to be that team.
Yep.
We like to help people form their plan, accomplish their plan. We love hitting deadlines and like getting things done before deadlines. So in my mind, like if I'm an artist, I want to know like who's going to be helping me produce. Do they have instrumentalists? Do I have instrumentalists in mind? Who's helping me mix and master? Think about your team, like who's doing graphic design. Shout out, we have a new graphic designer on our team who does album artwork and social media content for artists.
Yeah.
So we'll give more information about that if you want it, but we'll be making a big announce later.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, but little secret there. You want to be thinking about all these different people. What are the people that it takes to pull off what you want to do and start figuring out like, hey, I want to do this project. I'm thinking of having songs to you by this date, or hey, I'm thinking my project's going to wrap up. Could you have album artwork by this date? And like start talking about it now. I think having that team around you, knowing who you want to work with, knowing what pieces you need is very valuable.
Yeah. And we have other podcasts from earlier in our podcast history about how to like build relationships with people in the industry. So reference that because that's a whole thing. But yeah, reach out to people. I would say just be mindful of the things you are weak in. So if you have a weakness in knowing what you even want out of a graphic designer, for example, like hire somebody that's going to be willing to collaborate with you on that. Because some designers are just going to be like, I'm just going to do whatever you tell me to do. And it's like, well, I don't know what I want you to do. And it's like, okay, I will be an artist with you in this and like take ownership and like create with you a vision for this. Which is like, again, what we do and what we're passionate about is helping artists pursue a vision, a larger vision within their music. But just be mindful of what you're weak in and gain extra help for that specific thing.
Yeah. That's the beauty of a good working relationship is I know like what I can leave up to the other person because I know what they're really good at. And there's that trust there. So it goes a long way.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. So at this point, you should have a realistic goal. You should be thinking through some kind of a plan that involves the finances, the timeline of the project, social media, your team, all that.
Yeah.
Camo, what happens if you start going through the year and your goal doesn't pan out like you thought it was?
You freak out.
You freak out. Is that what you do? Do you just work really hard then to get back on track?
Yeah. So we were talking about this before the podcast because I'm just like not good with changing direction because I just get so fixated on the initial goal that any kind of change causes a lot of strife within me. And I'm certain there are other people out there like me in that way where maybe somebody you're working with changes the goal or like your goals have to change. And so my response isn't that I freak out. It's that I just get discouraged and I'm like, well, why did we even try it in the first place?
Yeah.
But it's important to know that your goals have to change and for good reason. Your desires within yourself might change. We are inconsistent people and like, that's okay.
Your situation might change.
You
might have thought I have the finances to do this, but then a big job change happens.
Yeah.
Or I have the team in place, but then something happens.
Yeah. And so if you go from a 10-song, like desiring to do a 10-song album to doing a 5-song EP, that's not a failure. That's just a readjustment and redirection. And you have the opportunity to do something great with that 5 songs, but don't let the change be the reason you don't do any songs at all. That would be ridiculous. But that's how some of us like feel inside. It's like, well, what was the point of even like trying to do the 10 songs? That's not. I don't know.
I'm disgustingly optimistic. Which can like frustrate the people that love me and are around me because like something could go totally wrong and not to plan. And I'm just like, hey, we learned some awesome stuff. And people are like,
You do that with
We
me.
don't care. I know.
And it's good. It's good for me.
It's one of those things that I feel like is like a healthy mindset, but it can be very frustrating to people around you. But I think it's sensitive. A good. Yeah.
No, I love it though. It's really helpful for me. I'm almost always surprised. I'm like, how is he so level-headed about this right now? It makes me mad. I'm like, why? What, are we not seeing the same thing?
It's not intentional. I'm just broken that way.
It's just, but it's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so before we kind of wrap up, we wanted to give some like handles on some things about goals that we feel like is very helpful. We also just wanted to give some pictures of what we think could be some really, really good goals for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this podcast, you're an artist, you're a songwriter, you're trying to put out some content, you could be very new at this. You could be more experienced at this. We really want to speak to just helping people get started.
Yeah.
So it's okay if you say my goal in 2025 is to finish and release one song.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is the next step for you.
Yeah.
I think it's even okay to take a step back and be like, my goal is just to write one song I'm really proud of.
Yeah.
And I'll figure out what to do with it once I've written it.
Yes.
Your goal could be to co-write with somebody else.
Yeah.
Your goal could be to commit to learning more.
Mm-hmm.
I think like if you're listening to this podcast, it could be, I'm going to listen to podcasts on songwriting, an hour a week or something like that. Like I'm going to buy a book on creativity and like trying to unlock the creative part of who I am as a person. So there's lots of like little goals along the way. And you can set bigger goals.
Yeah.
One of my favorite songwriters, John Foreman, the lead singer of Switchfoot, he'll occasionally do this exercise where he will write a song a day every single day of a month.
Love.
And he's like, I know most of those songs are not going to be my best work.
Yeah.
But he's like, I just want to practice the art of songwriting. So that's his goal. Mm-hmm. It's like a form of practice, of training and developing. And you might get something that's really great, or you might just get better at your craft.
Yeah. That even just goes back to like what I think we've been hinting at this entire time, which is like goals are good, but also like enjoy and appreciate the process of pursuing those goals.
Yep.
Like even this very business that David and I have created, like we are enjoying the process of working together and like trying to put our minds towards like figuring out issues and like things we're trying to pursue. But if it was like a constant grind and there was just no like beauty in it, or we couldn't see the beauty in it, it would be a really, really tough process for us. So even in the 30 song thing, like make it less about trying to write a good song. And like John Foreman said, make it more about like just trying to exercise the muscle of songwriting. Or even like the album process. Like if you're trying to release an album, enjoy the process of being in the studio and grinding. Like don't overlook it or don't miss out on the fact that you're doing something that a lot of people wish they could do and aren't able to do because you haven't hit song 8 by the deadline that you set for song 8. Like don't miss it, but appreciate the process of pursuing the goal. That'll make it all the more worth it whether you hit the goal or not.
I totally forgot to mention this. Like I didn't even think about it till just now, but hopefully you understand that you need a specific goal. If your goal isn't specific, it's very hard to build a plan. So very last caveat, make sure you have a specific goal in mind. It can't just be, I want to write more music this year. Like, what does that mean? Have something that's specific, measurable, tangible. So 2025 starting.
Yes.
Hopefully a lot of people have goals to put out more music, to do more songs, to produce songs, all that kind of stuff. We want to help. Kamo, tell them how we can help.
At the beginning of the new year, we're going to have a deal for artists that listen to this podcast episode. And the deal is that if you go to our website and fill out an inquiry form to reach out to us, and you put the code in the inquiry form, code 2025 in the inquiry form, then we will give you 10% off of our services for a song. So 10% off the total price of producing, mixing, and mastering. Or if you just want to go for mixing and mastering or just producing, whatever works for you, you get 10% off of our song services.
For one song?
For one song.
For one song. And the code expires
by the end of January. So if you don't use it by the end of January, sorry.
Now, if I put the code in January, can I cash out on it in March?
You absolutely can.
Perfect. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So generous.
Yeah. We are really generous people, aren't we? I'm kidding.
All kidding aside.
Yes.
We do really want to see people's goals happen.
Yes.
So if you have goals, if you want to make music, reach out to us.
Yes.
We want to help you.
Yes.
That's our thing.
Totally.
Yeah.
The last thing I will add to all of this is be mindful, like at the end of next year, like look back at your goals and celebrate what you accomplished.
Yep.
Every year when you and I do this,
yep.
I always review the goals that we talked about the year before. And
Yep.
I almost never hit all of my goals, but I either hit most or I hit some. And I'm like, whoa, that probably would have never happened if I didn't set goals at all.
Yep.
So I'm really thankful. And you just want to take time, like celebrate what you've done. That's going to be the fuel into the flame to keep you going, seeing that you've accomplished these things. So take time to celebrate.
Do that with everything.
Yes.
Celebrate your personal finances.
Yes.
Celebrate your relationships. Celebrate your parenting. Like, yeah. Fuel to the fire is great. Everyone needs to do a little bit of looking back and celebrating the good things that have happened.
Totally.
Yeah.